This is the second and final video of how to make a maxi dress using Vogue pattern V9363. Stay tuned. This is pattern piece 1, the bodice front. We're going to pin the pleats together and fold it towards the center front. And then we're going to sew down the center front, right sides together. Pin it first and then we're going to sew it down. Remember to back tack it so it doesn't come apart. And if you remember, we cut the center front on a 45-degree angle. So that's what you see in the V in the front. Now we're pinning together the front skirt and we're sewing it together at the center front, right sides together. Here sometimes the fabric shifts, so I'm sewing it on the other side so that all sides are even at the top and the bottom. So serge the edge, finish the edge at the center front on both the top bodice and the skirt. And now we're going to sew it together, match the seams in the center front. Then we're going to pin it together and we're going to sew it together. Now we're going to remove all the pins and we're going to finish this edge, serge the edge so it's a clean finish. So there is the front of the dress. So now we're going to get the back of the dress and we're going to sew the dart. You should have marked your fabric from the pattern and just ease it in from, once you fold it, just ease it in from the top. And then just follow the dots or follow the lines that you marked to the dart. It's a fairly small dart, so it's fairly simple to do. And you do this to both sides of the dress. So I serged the edge on each side of the back dress. And now I'm going to attach both of them together, right sides together, up until the point where I'm going to insert the zipper. So now I'm sewing it with 5/8 seam allowance. And it's going to be about an inch away from where the zipper is going to stop. There's a notch on your pattern, and you see I have it marked with a pin. So it's about an inch, well, I would say about maybe 3 inches down from where the zipper is going to start. So there's the opening for the zipper. Now we're going to attach the invisible zipper. We're going to put it right sides together and pin it in. Pin all the way down, and then you're going to pin the other side to the other side of the back. Match the top so that it's even. And pin this too. Now I'm going to change to a zipper foot, and I basted the zipper down so that it stays in place. Here I just opened the top of the zipper so that I can do the other side. And now just take out all the pins, and now it's basted. So now we have to go over the finish with the zipper foot very close to the zipper edge. Just get as close to the edge as possible. Just line up your zipper foot against the invisible zipper. Just fold it out a little bit so you can get into the crevice, and then you sew. So when it's finished, only like a small piece should show of the invisible zipper. You're going to do the same thing to the other side. Just try to get as close to the stop as possible, and then sew as close to the edge into the crevice of the invisible zipper as possible. Just backstitch at the top so it doesn't come out. You clip your ends, and then you just zip it up to make sure everything matches. So there you go. Now we have to finish the back seam, and I'm going to sew on the other side so I can get close to the end of the invisible zipper as possible without going out. It's about 1/8 of an inch out, so you sew 5/8 inch, and then you'll see once you get to the edge of the zipper, you just sew 1/8 of an inch. If you can get closer, but 1/8 of an inch out of the seam. Back stitch. And there's your finished back. Next, we're going to do the front ties. So we're going to sew right sides together. You should have 4 of them. You want to sew all of them together at a 5/8 seam allowance. And you miter the tip. Then you fold it right side out. You should press it down, but for this video I'm just going to show you how to pin the pleat. But this should be pressed. All seams should be pressed. And now you just fold the pleat and pin it. And you're going to fold it down. And now you're going to attach this to the front of the dress. Depending on where your waist lies, you might want to adjust where you pin it, either up or further down, depending on if you have a high or low waist. Now you just pin the front and back together, and now I'm going to sew it up starting at the shoulder seams. Back stitch it so it doesn't come apart. You do the same thing to the other side. And now we're going to sew the side seams. Be careful when you're sewing over the pins to make sure you catch the front tie. And go slow around the armhole, underneath the armhole, to keep the same seam allowance. After you sew this together, you're going to finish all the edges, either zigzag stitch or serged edge. So now we're going to work on the cuff. Just measure a 2-inch piece of elastic of where the cuff is going to land. Mine is going to be on the forearm. So you're just going to measure that and cut 2. 1 for each arm. So I just sewed the edges of the cuff together, and now I'm going to fold it in half. Just match the edges. And press that. Now I'm going to gather the bottom of the sleeve. I'm going to do 2 rows of a basting stitch, a gather stitch. So you're going to put your machine at the widest stitch. Usually it's a 4. Some machines go higher. So the first seam is the first stitch is about 1/4 of an inch away from the edge, and the second seam is 5/8 away from the edge, because that's the seam allowance. So once this is finished, I'm going to gather the armhole to match the width of the sleeve cuff. So you have to ease all of this in. So you pull both strings together to gather it. So you want to match the underseam to the cuff seam. You pin it together and you ease in the sleeve bottom to the cuff. If you have to gather it more or lessen some of the gathers, you do that so that it fits in the cuff. And now you pin it. You're going to leave about a 2-inch opening so that you can put in the elastic. So that's the 2-inch opening. So now you sew it together. Now I'm going to attach a safety pin to the elastic so I can pull it through. Leave the opening that you left and ease the elastic through the cuff. You pull the safety pin through and you pull the elastic so that you can sew the ends together. So sewing the ends together, you can use about 1/2 of an inch seam allowance. You're going to cut off the excess, but just backstitch so this doesn't come apart. And then now just cut off the excess. So now just pull all the elastic through so that it's evenly placed or dispersed on the cuff. Now you're going to sew the opening that you left. And there you have your cuff. Now you have to just finish the inside edge. So we're going to add the bias binding to the neck, and you have to put it 5/8 away from the edge. So the crevice or the fold line should be 5/8 away from the edge of the neck seam. So you do that all the way around. So now you're going to sew into the fold. One side of the bias tape is folded up and you're going to sew into the fold. You do that around the whole neck. And you fold the edge of the bias at the zipper. And back stitch. Now you're going to cut off the excess of the neck seam so you can fold it over and it lays flat. So fold the bias tape and we're going to pin it to hold it in place, because after you finish folding it you have to go to the iron and press it down. And then you're going to slip stitch the edges of where the zipper is. So this is how it looks pressed, and you're going to slip stitch at the zipper. If you see at my front seam, it's a little bit longer than my back, so I had to trim some of the excess of the front. So you have to adjust it according to how yours came out. So now I'm going to do a hem. It's a 5/8 hem, but I'm using a hem foot, a 1/4 inch hem foot. So it's going to be actually about a 1/2 inch hem. So if you don't have a hem foot, you can just fold it up, fold it 5/8, and then fold it again. But it's just easier using a hem foot. I'm going to have a link below so that you can find it for a home machine and an industrial machine, which I'm using. So when you get to the end, you have to take it out and change your foot to the regular foot and just sew a top stitch. So now you press down your hem and you press all of your seams and cut off all of the excess, and you have your finished dress. So here's the side and the back view. And there you go. If you followed this video and you made this dress, follow me on Instagram and tag me at CoverMeChic. If you like this video, please subscribe and hit the notification bell for new videos. And if you have any questions, ask in the comments. This is Zahia from CoverMeChic, making modest fashion look fabulous on you. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.